day one of the Starcraft 2 Pro League here at SPL2016. I'm Tasteless, and with me today is GTR. How you doing, buddy?
Doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited. Pro League is finally back. We got two great teams duking it out today. Although both these teams are absolutely fantastic, I think this may be a bit more one-sided than some people would expect.
Yeah, looking at these lineups for the entries between Afreeca Freaks and SKT Telecom T1, it appears that SKT are bringing out their big guns today. They want to.
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough, I think, for the Afreeca Freaks to win. But I wouldn't say that it's so off balance. There couldn't be some upsets here. We're going to have to see. Anyways, it's really good to be down here. Thank you so much for subbing in for Wolf and Brendan. Wolf is doing Heroes of the Stormcast tonight, and Brendan is on vacation seeing his family. So thank you so much for coming down here and filling in.
My absolute pleasure. And even as you said before, even though these games do look one-sided, Legend is a great coach. He knows how to prepare for matches, yep. And I would not be surprised if we see some wonky builds from the Afreeca Freaks and take some games off these really excellent plays of SKT Telecom T1.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you can't get a much better coach than Legend. So let's go and see what happens. Also, great to have a new sponsor here in Pro League. Afreeca continuing to support esports. And of course, SK, these guys are just the best of the best. When it comes to esports history, top teams, SK has just consistently produced players that seem to be unstoppable.
For sure, they are the kings of esports here in Korea. And even though some of their players aren't performing as well as we thought they would, Innovation, Sue, those star players that were there, part of the Swarm rather.
Right.
They've still got good players that are doing very well in Legacy Void, such as Dark and Classic.
Let's take a quick look at these two teams before we get this match started. We'll be right back.
SK Telecom Starcraft 2 Pro League 울산 우승 KT 로스터.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
We are back, and we are very close to starting our first match here. To what we were talking about earlier, GTR. You know, oh, that's a great photo of us.
Taste GTR. Do you want to taste GTR?
Yeah, taste GTR. I guess that's now our Archon name that we're stuck with. They they told me we don't have enough room in the graphic to fit in tasteless, and I'm like, all right, well, it could be taste or tasty. But I guess tasty would really defeat what my original idea is, but they took a quick photo of us, man. We look like Rocky and Bullwinkle in that picture, man. Anyways, we're going to go into introducing our teams. As you can see over here, SK Telecom. This is, like we were saying before, just such a massive team. And, you know, even when I'm casting the GSL with Artosis, any guy on SKT, we always say we have to consider to be a top contender because even the names that you don't know very well, if they're playing with the number of players that are on SKT who train so well, and I'd say they have, you know, some of the best, if not the best coaching staff out there, it's pretty scary, right? You know, so you got to count all those guys as possible powerhouse players.
For sure, like, they have the most stacked roster out of all the Pro League teams, in my opinion.
Right.
So many stars, so many, you know, those ranked players that they can take games off S-class players from the other team if they get prepared well for their match. If they if the coaching staff decide to use them to snipe the other players of the other team, then the coaching staff do a really good job of doing that. So SK Telecom is, in my opinion, the heavy favorite for this season's Pro League.
Yeah, I would say so. Although I think the Afreeca Freaks definitely should have a very good showing here in Pro League as well. This is just, going to be a pretty tough match for them as they've just formed together as a team coming in here. Let's see how strong they can actually be as we start this off. It is going to be a best of 5.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if we're going to go to all of our games, but we have our set schedule. Oh, we're on the Korean stream right now. So we're going to say hi to those guys right now. And for you guys on the English stream, you're already pretty familiar with us. But what was I talking about? I got distracted for a second.
We're talking about the best of 5 and whether.
That's right. Thank you. So if we do go on to the, if it's a 3-0, we're not going to finish our matches. If it goes to game 5, we're going to be doing our ace match.
And it's going to be really interesting to see what the ace match is if we get to that point. Honestly, I don't think we're going to get to that, but if we do...
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we did.
It's going to be really interesting to see what decision that Legend makes for the ace player, because he's got a lot of players that could win an ace match for him.
I totally agree. I think that definitely a lot of those players could just to fit in. I don't think there's one player who's like so dominant we'd have to put him in if it was for the Afreeca Freaks. But I know when you and I, and they're going to be showing our predictions here in a little bit, when you and I were talking about who we thought was going to win, even though I cast GSL, which Afreeca supports, I still look at the players in the lineup, and I'm rooting for the Afreeca Freaks, but I think SKT is probably going to take it.
Well, I think SKT's depth is just way too good for Afreeca right now. I say give some time to Afreeca, let them gel, let them figure out their Pro League strategies, how they approach Pro League. But for now, I feel that SKT is definitely the stronger team in this matchup.
As you guys can see here, we have a lineup of all the teams that are going to be part of this, and we're really grateful that those sponsors are here supporting esports, supporting Starcraft 2. And here is what the map pool is for Pro League this season as well. We got a lot of very different maps, 1-on-1 maps as well as 4-player maps, so allowing for a lot of different play styles. And there's a lot of strategy coming into this. These teams, they all prepare together. They go over what kind of strats and builds they're going to do. And it really is a team sport. They really do have to stick together, support each other. There are players who do better in Pro League over individual leagues because they feel more of the support and the energy from the team.
For sure. And as we see both teams here today, for this matchup before was the Afreeca Freaks, head coached by Legend. And here's SK Telecom T1, arguably the Korean dynasty of esports here.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of strong players and a great coaching staff to boot as well. You have the head coach, I Love OOV, a Brutal champion.
Guy's a legend.
Bonjour. And he also has a strong coaching staff of previous Brutal players from that team. As we see here, today's match, as mentioned before, Afreeca Freaks versus SK Telecom T1. And what match to you strikes the most appealing?
Let's see here. I think the one that excites me the most is probably going to be Curious versus Classic. I think those guys are both powerhouses. Although I'd say most people might think the Classic overshadows Curious. I think Curious is much better than he ever really gets the recognition for. Well,
he's known as the gatekeeper of Code S here in Korea because if you can beat him, you can do pretty well in Code S. If you don't, then you just stay in Code A. And I don't think he gets that much respect out of everyone that follows StarCraft 2.
I feel like you know what it is? I think he's just overshadowed by some of these other Zerg players that are out there, but I think that should be maybe our closest match, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. Personally, for me, my favorite match, if we get there, is Bomber versus Sue. I'm not really sure how well Bomber is doing so far in Legacy of the Void, but in Heart of Swarm, he was awesome at Terran versus Zerg.
He was fantastic.
So hopefully, if we get to that game, he'll give us a good showing against Sue.
And of course, when you see a player like Sue, you got to ask yourself, is he going to be able to dominate more or maybe less than he did in Heart of the Swarm? This is a guy that got second place a lot. He was first place and getting second place. And I'm wondering, because we saw in Wings of Liberty a lot of the players unable to transition over. Is he going to be one of these players this time around that's going to be able to succeed there, or perhaps maybe he'll fall off? We're going to see the beginnings of that, the bones forming, if you will, of how Sue's career is going to map out as we go into this match here today.
Yeah, as we saw last week in the SSL, Innovation playing against Sue in that losers bracket, and Sue actually won that quite convincingly, but I think it was more of an issue of Innovation not really adapting to the Legacy of the Void, using those old Heart of the Swarm strategies.
Yeah, that was a bit strange to see.
Like, I think Sue you just got to give him some time to get used to the game, and he'll get back to his previous form.
You know, it's interesting because you do have players that come out and they are so dominant, but only at the start of an RTS. And you know, Legacy to Void, it's different enough. I mean, when you look at the difference that you had from Wings and then to Heart of the Swarm, right? There were some big differences, but the leap from Heart of the Swarm to Legacy is huge. All the builds are different. The way and
game, how the game plays is way different because of how the minerals work, how the income works in that game. It's pretty much a new game when you think about it.
Yeah, it really is. And when you look at it like that, there are players that tend to dominate right at the start of that. There are these guys that it clicks in their mind early on, but then as months and months pass, it's the players that practice more and tend to you know, get a better foundation. Sometimes they succeed later on. So you know, for me, whether it's Pro League or any other StarCraft 2 event, it's always exciting to see how all these new players that have a lot of RTS experience in their backgrounds adapt to, you know, these new formulas that they have to master here. And in this case, it's going to be in Legacy.
So we should talk about this upcoming game,
Sure.
Super against Dark here. And if you remember from Code A, the qualifiers last Friday, he took out Ragnarok quite convincingly, 3-1. What are your thoughts on that series and how it's going to transition to this game here?
Oh man, I'm not sure. I mean, it was a different beast when we looked at that back there because it was a series, right? They had more, but in this, it's, you know, you have one game, right? So you could try anything and maybe throw them up. We'll have to see. I'm not too sure. Here was Super against Dark. Dark's been doing very well. He's very solid.
He's very solid. He's one of those star macro style Zergs that know how to manage the game. He's not really known for his micromanagement and control. And I think, yeah, Dark is the favorite for this matchup.
I think so.
Seeing Super play on Friday was actually quite impressive. As we see these, I don't know what trust and willpower are, but I definitely know what tactic and strategy and talent is. So.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. What is trust? I don't know. That's an interesting graphic we have there. One thing I will note is that when I've casted Super's games, and I've done this a couple times already in the past few years of casting StarCraft 2, he does seem to like oftentimes doing just one strategy in a series, which might be advantageous if it's just one game that he has to play here today. He might have this one build really mapped out. Although, as you see, historically, Super has not done too well against Dark here, 0-4.
But I'm pretty sure that Legend and the coaching staff at Afreeca Freaks have prepared something for Dark. Maybe they found something in Dark's playing the Zerg vs Protoss matchup where there's something Super could exploit. We just have to wait and see how it goes.
Yeah, we're going to know momentarily here. You know, Super, though, I think he still does have a chance, but, you know, if I had to guess who's going to move on, I would probably say Dark. We're going to see here. We're almost ready to start this game. So, guys, tell your friends to tune in with us here at SPL2016. We're in day one, game one of Pro League. It is SK Telecom against the Afreeca Freaks. And look at this. Unanimous voting here for us.
Yeah.
Everybody voted that they thought that Dark was going to move on. So either we're all right.
We're all right.
Or we're all wrong. All the commentators, we're all in this together here right now.
Yeah, we're all holding our hands, making sure that our prediction's right. And if
right.
we're wrong, then it's going to look bad on us. But that's what predictions are. It's like you either look good or you look bad. But yeah.
Our first map's going to be Ulrena. Let's see what happens. It's a weird map. We'll get more into that as the game starts. Anyways, let's do this. Game number one. Super against Dark here in the Pro League. All right, and we're on. So down here in the bottom left is Super. And in the upper left, Dark.
So Ulrena, one of those funky maps with that small choke point where you can get to your opponent really easily.
Yeah, you mean the fast lane.
Fast lane where
closer to the left side of the map.
The quick lane, I guess, the expressway.
Expressway, sure.
You could say. So.
But as you were saying, one thing to note though with that is that it is a bottleneck. If you can get there faster, but if they cut you off before your army can get out there, it's a problem. I feel like this is a map that we can actually learn a lot about how StarCraft 2 operates on because it is so different. This is a map where both players are constantly expanding further and further to the right. We haven't had very many games where it actually goes on for too long. I'm really hoping that we have one of these games where we actually start having a lot of map control in the bottom right or upper right. We also have an island in the center left. And again, since the map is so new, it's not entirely clear how that's going to operate in each of the matchups that we have here in StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void. But with each game that we have on this map, we're going to be learning a lot about how these two races operate.
As we note here, first deviation already from standard from Dark, going for that spawning pool with that gas, so he wants to get that speed out. Knowing that Ulrena has those short rush distances between each base, he wants to get those speedlings out and apply pressure onto Super.
So for Super, we have one base so far, quick cybernetics core. We did still see a lot of fast expanding here for Protoss, but possibly due to the rush distances specifically on this map, Super might feel a little bit safer being on the defense. Conversely, he might even be trying to do something on the offense coming up here. We're going to have to see. And it looks like it's going to be, yep, that was just a defensive play, getting that Nexus up. And for the Zerg, we're already having a Roach Warren come down.
Yeah, so Dark definitely wants to dictate the pace of this game right now, getting that Roach Warren up really early. I thought he'd be getting speed link, but I guess he just invested that initial gas that he got from that geyser into those Roaches, and we're going to see if Dark will get a third anytime soon, seeing this Nexus from Super going down, or he wants to go for that Roachling pressure.
Yeah, he started his Zergling speed. We're going to see, now that the Roach Warren is done, how many more Roaches he's going to do. Occasionally we see a preliminary number of Roaches, but the Roach Warren was quite fast, and I don't see him banking any minerals right now on getting another hatchery. So I'm under the impression this is going to be an aggro build. With the Adept out, the Adept is not the best unit against Roaches. It's not your choice unit to fight off Roaches, although the Adept it can be strong. Even then, it's still it's not ideal. So let's see how much damage these Roaches can actually do as they come down.
Oh, he's bringing his Queen as well, so it looks like he wants to transfuse with that probably, or maybe there might be some shenanigans with building a hatchery there, trying to like establish a creep to help. Maybe just help spread the creeps tumors down that expressway. As we see a bit of pressure here onto that Adept. Mothership Core just chipping away at those Roaches, but Mothership Cores in the depths don't really do that much damage to Roaches, so...
Notice the patience here from Super. He's not actually triggering that pylon cannon just yet. He's waiting until the last possible second, and there we go. He started it up, but the Queen is already over here.
Yeah, remember that the patch only just recently came out this past weekend, so pylon overcharge rather has changed. You require more energy to use it.
That's right. You
can't bank it up in Castle on the pylons. But you see here, a Ravager out here for Dark, picks off this pylon with the overcharge, and we'll see how Super reacts to this. He's trying to defend this, but he doesn't have any units.
Yeah, he just doesn't have very much. You can see the Mothership Core just trying to get that Ravager. Ravager just barely out of range. It does go down, but he's already breached inside the main here. He could actually get that pylon over there, and that would shut down the majority of these gates, actually stopping Warpins.
Ooh, that's only one gate down there for Super though, but I'm not sure if he can get any more units out. I think he just used his last warp in.
Yeah, he doesn't have that much here to help out. The Roaches are backing up, but already 14 probes have been picked off. He's continuing to micro back. Probes are now being pulled. Links are going to come up here to try to reinforce. We have another Stalker being warped in. Now, even though it looks like it's possible he might be able to hold off everything over here in the main, the expansion's going to go down, and Protoss is going to be in a tough spot. He can kind of support 3 gates.
He can kind of do it.
Off this, but he can't really tech at the same time. But you know what? The Nexus is still up. Dark now looks like he's making 3 drones. We see a Roach coming in here, so we're going to have to wait another minute. Okay, with about 2 more drones on top of those 3 being made, it looks like he wants to go back into econ play.
I feel though that he has enough Zerglings though that he can take out the Nexus. I feel that's a sizable amount to kill it off, but I guess he's just happy with all the probe kills he's done so far and powering the warp gates. He's really comfortable in the position right now, just to drone up, take that third, and take that advantage that he received from that attack.
And if you look at the worker count overall, it's 17 to 28 right now. So he's got the worker lead. And it looks like this expansion is only just now they're going to begin to mine from this. Super may try to put out some pressure here and try to intimidate the Zerg into cutting back on drone production and try to make some more defensive units. But with the third base being acquired, already about a 14 drone lead, I gotta say I like Dark's position here.
I like Dark's position as well, as we see that mothership core just seeing if Dark is further pursuing that attack, but he sees that not that much units have been built, and I like what Dark's doing here, attacking these rocks, opening up another path for Super to worry about.
Yeah, then that's going to make it much more difficult. If Super does try to take a third base here, he can actually be hit. As the game goes on, it's going to be more teching here for Zerg. Protoss not comfortable, not confident moving out, and that's really one of the big blows that can happen when Protoss is put on his back foot. You can see also a good number of sentries have been made. That can be handy in defense, but I would say, especially if the rocks are torn down here in the center of the map, you have a huge risk of being counterattacked if he pushes out with those, stalkers and sentries and the rest.
For sure, those sentries cost a lot of gas, and if you lose all of them, then that's really bad. You fall behind really quickly. It's really interesting to see Dark here. Hasn't started his lair tech yet. He's very content with his speedlings and those roach tech that he has right now. We see Super actually moving out a bit, and these Zerglings just waltzing into the ramp of Super. Sentry goes down, and I think these those adepts just pick off as the Raptors actually do a lot of damage.
He actually wants to cut this off because he saw that this is so good. He saw that the mothership core was right there. Oh my God, this is going to be huge. So much. So he saw the mothership core was back there to help defend, which means that there's no way that army can get back home. That was a great play there by Dark.
Great play by Dark there, and what I love is that Dark forced Super in a bad position, made him force field himself in that weird nook in the expressway, and those Ravagers with those corrosive vials, that's just a gift-wrapped food there. It's just amazing play there from Dark.
I mean, talk about optimizing surface area right there. I mean, it's just so good.
I mean, like a bronze player could just get that corrosive vial hit off there.
Oh, absolutely. And now we can start pressing forward here. Corrosive vials taking out the force field. The Lynx beginning to come in. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide here for these sentries and this adept. And there's an overwhelming number of Zerg units here. And you could almost see actually GG, Dark even clicking around, making him dance a little bit. Easy peasy. Game 1 going to SK.
Yes, Dark doing a really good job there, taking advantage of how the map works. Using that fast speedling, using that really fast roaches as well to apply pressure. Super got greedy there, and as a result, got punished, lost too many probes, and couldn't come back into the game.
Well, that was a very good start. I do like the fact he was taking full advantage of, the changes there in the patch, and the fact that Protoss is a little bit more vulnerable early on to some of that pressure, especially on a map like that. Yeah,
for sure. And we'll see how Afreeca react to that. Curious versus Classic is the next game, and we'll talk a bit more about that previous game. Do you reckon there was anything that Super could have done to deflect that attack? Because there was a nice timing that Dark did when the mothership core came into the base of Dark. He only just recently scouted the base of Dark, and he couldn't really prepare in time because he already put down that Nexus.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. So in the previous iteration of Legacy of the Void, what we did see Protoss was able to do was pressure with the depths, and Zerg could not counterattack if the Protoss had pylon set up. And it seems like the way Super was playing was hinging on that fact back there, but because of the changes, it's not quite as effective, right? If you have to be super conservative when you do activate, the pylon cannon, then you got to be. It's a much more difficult situation, and the Adept can't simply run by your army and start killing workers because you just don't have enough to defend at home. So maybe Super might have to adjust. Maybe Protosses in general will have to just adjust their builds a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, as our next game will be Curious against Classic. And as we mentioned before, this was your favorite game of the series?
This is the one I'm looking forward to. I think like most people, I think most of you guys watching at home probably think Classic's going to win. I do as well, but I think Curious can put up a really good fight. He's a very smart player. Curious is, if you've been following Starcraft 2 since it came out, Curious has basically always been there.
He's been one of the most solid Zerg players out there, and even though he hasn't won any tournaments, he hasn't Set1 produce that many results here in Korea at least. He's shown that he's a very solid player that knows how to approach the game and take advantage of the meta that is given to the Zerg at the time.
Yeah, and he was somebody who was good in multiple expansions for StarCraft too, so I don't see why he wouldn't be good here too. And he was great in the early days of Wings of Liberty. So, look, he hasn't won a major tournament, like GSL or something like that, but he's gotten very deep in there, and he's almost been there a couple times. So, against Classic, who has won a GSL, I would just say that it should be a good match. Again, I think Classic's going to win, but in one game, anything can happen.
Anything can happen in a best of one series, and also anything can happen when you have a coaching staff behind you to prepare strategies. Again, because you have to remember these games they're announced a week, 4 days or so in advance. Every Friday, and gives them time for the coaches to prepare for these matches in Pro League. So